So Black Summoner has done a really good job at subverting expectations, not in a massive way that completely shatters expectations, but enough that it makes me raise an eyebrow and say, I really wasn't expecting the show to be quite as good as it's turning out to be, especially when you look at last week's episode, which I talked about just how great of a character Kelvin turned out to be. He really is an unexpected badass that is hunting for that adventure, but he just has a character that you want to root for. And in this episode, there's two moments that, while not massively different than things we've seen before, and potentially you could have had similar thoughts that things would pop up in the way that they did, it's enough to make me say I'm glad this show isn't completely playing by the rules we've come to expect with this type of show. While it's not the first isekai fantasy show with other heroes that have been summoned, the fact that within the first couple of minutes they casually drop that bombshell that there's other heroes and they start setting up the classic, typical demon lords coming, there's going to be a big bad, you're going to want to fight him, all the things you've kind of come to expect with the show. But immediately, both Kelvin and his goddess are like, yeah, just don't get involved with that. Just do your own thing. That's a trope that you've come to expect. They're even kind of being self-aware with that, saying that, you just kind of expect that you gave them the generic hero fantasy, and that's probably what they're doing. They're probably powerful enough to deal with it themselves. I'm just going to go do my own thing. Even though the likely bet would be at some point in the story, whether this season touches upon it or not, he probably would get involved with the Demon Lord story because naturally an adventurous guy like him would probably bump into some underlings of said Demon Lord or something like that. Maybe the heroes will die, maybe he'll party up with them, right? There's a lot of ways he could still get involved, but the fact that rather than just going with, oh, there is other heroes, there's this apocalypse level threat that's coming, we're gonna train, we're gonna prepare, and we're going to do what we can in order to try to aid them. Instead, they're like, nah, we're just gonna go do our own thing. You don't see that a lot, and I'm not here to say that's the most massively holy shit I've never seen that moment, but the way they handled that conversation with the Guildmaster and just the reveal of who he was and the fact that he could see through everything, the fact that he himself was preparing to deal with this noble who he very much knew was behind all the horrible shit happening to adventurers and was moments away from acting on it until Kelvin came in and dealt with it for him. It's not like it shatters expectations, but it does subvert them enough to make this show remain to be like, oh, I thought maybe just there was a couple of cool elements about it, but it continues to say, no, we're trying to say that this is all that you love about this genre, but it really doesn't feel like it's going to have anything you hate about it, given how they're slightly navigating away from the cliches and letting Kelvin turn into a character that his adventure you just want to root for. And the second moment was with the buying of the slave. Now, we have shows in this season that have exact moments like this, cheering from the sidelines, I'm going to go buy a slave, I'm going to live out my harem wet dream. Within 30 seconds of him cheering on the streets, being like, I'm gonna go buy me a slave, he's like, yeah, no, okay, I understand my knight over here wants me to have a harem because I'm his king. All wrong. I need someone who I can have around me at all times and basically be a support for me. While yes, he's not oblivious to the fact that he now has a cute girl that when dressed as a maid at points, it does make him rather flustered, because who the hell wouldn't be when a hot half-elf is literally calling you master and dressed as a servant? The difference is that he's not a virgin about it, right? He's not saying, oh, I'm just simply buying it just because I want to get laid. It's just naturally this dude cares about adventuring. And that's apparently a big thing about his character from what I've heard from source readers. And given what we've seen over 3 episodes now, I'm willing to believe it, that he just is the type of gamer who likes going on adventure. That the added booty, and I mean that literally, not just talking about the treasure, I'm talking about the booty that's now next to him. That's an added bonus, and he's not going to be complaining that he gets some eye candy. But the natural thing that he's hunting for is adventure. The fact that he's being smart about everything. It wasn't simply that he saw a girl on the side of the street who looked sad, and that's why he went out his way to save her. One, it probably, made him feel some things, because he's not an asshole, but the big thing is he wanted a slave that would be able to be easily crafted into who he needs to be. The fact that the same EXP growth that he has, he made sure that she picked as well, and the fact that he then immediately said, pick the rest of your skills, because 1, it's better to learn now than later, and 2, you're supposed to be a person, not just simply a puppet to call me master. The fact that he's letting characters around him grow and become more than just a slave who's been taunted and cursed and everything like that, he's just such an enjoyable character who has these moments of ruthlessness, as seen by episode 2. he has these moments of funny, kind of a little fluster, what you typically expect without going full on, this dude's never touched a woman. But then he also just has this side where you just feel like he's the type of adventurer you kind of wish like 50% of the shows that come out in a season would aim to be rather than what we get. Like Black Summer to me is like the best representation of a great anime. It's not amazing yet. It could be, don't get me wrong. It's not fine or a good show. It's just really great right now. And I really enjoy Kelvin as a character. Funny enough, in this episode when we got introduced to Ethel, I don't know why. It's just because it looks so similar to how the spelling would be. I thought for so long while reading the subtitles, it wasn't until like the last couple of minutes that I thought her name was Elfie. I don't know why, that's how it looked to me. And given that over the past couple of episodes, I've had multiple people say that they thought the main character's name was Kevin, not Kelvin. There's just something about the names in this show that are just one letter, it just throws our minds for a loop, and we're just calling them completely something else. So I can understand if people are like, oh shit, I thought the guy's name was Kevin because goddamn, here I was thinking her name was Elfie or something. But ultimately, I'm liking the party that he's building. I think the idea of his summons are very fun. Slime, menu goddess, giant badass knight who wants his master to have a harem. We now have a freed slave who was cursed, who anyone who touched her would basically be set aflame. And I mean, the fact that you had a slave trader not try to pawn off his cursed object, like he literally didn't want to sell it to Kelvin. He's like, bro, she's half elf. Yeah, all this stuff should make her profitable, but I don't want you to get scammed, bro. Like the fact that we had an honest slave trader, I wasn't expecting that. Like sure, honest slave trader doesn't really go hand in hand, but given the context of the world, that's probably the most honest you're gonna get. Like he literally had to put the money in his hand before he could even set her free. And I like the fact that he used his remaining skill points to get the white magic that would decurse her. And I think what I like about her character is that she almost has this level of childlike innocence, but also you can tell she's going to be like a more, I think, serious companion than maybe what we've got up to this point. Like the moment when she's afraid of the innkeeper touching her, like the fact that she touches and then she starts kind of getting like giddy, like, holy shit, I've never been able to do this. And she starts jumping for joy, acting like a kid on Christmas morning. There's these moments with her that you can tell she definitely has had a very bad life. The cage alone says that, but seeing her mannerisms, the type of details you don't see a lot in shows, especially that deal with slave, they just kind of get freed and they're fine. But her, it's, even though he could touch her, the fact that other people can too, like, what is my master doing? And he clearly is the best person ever. Like, I like that they're giving that extra detail to a former slave, and the fact that they didn't just immediately discard it just says to me that the writing is absolutely quality in the show, and it'll be very fun to see where they'll go from here. I like the fact that he's smart about things, showed her the summons, said keep it a secret, but I'm also gonna kind of train you so you can be very skilled yourself. Just a lot of great stuff about this show, man, and for an episode with not a lot of adventure in terms of action, I mean, this was just as adventurous as the previous episode that was filled with action, if you ask me. That's why I love Black Summoner. But thoughts down below, what did you think of the new character we finally got introduced to fully? What do you want to see in future episodes? Do let me know. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.